It's Christian without. I don't even recognize you without your glasses on.
without the glasses.
Holy smokes! Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
figured
it's
the
kind of
sun.
like me. Do I even look the same without glasses?
No, it's amazing how much glasses kind of become a part of people's faces. You know
They
what I
they
mean?
do. They do. I went to contacts for a little bit,
Yeah.
but as kind of a public figure around here, I had a lot of people not recognize me at all with
Oh yeah,
with
yeah,
contacts,
yeah.
whereas glasses they recognize me. But uh,
Right.
so so this isn't today. This isn't. This is a trick. We're tricking you guys. This recording that we're making right now that you're watching right now is actually filmed after we interviewed Brandon.
Isn't that crazy? We didn't just change our clothes in
Well,
between. I mean,
I
we
don't
didn't change
remember.
our clothes.
I don't remember what I was wearing. I might have actually been wearing the same thing because this is kind of like my jacket. Uh,
Yeah.
because when it gets chilly, and it is chilly here today, it's 59 degrees. I just use this shirt as a jacket, just
Oh yeah,
naturally,
yeah.
even in the house. So I might actually be dressed the same. I don't know.
I like it. I mean,
Yeah,
it looks good.
cool.
I wasn't wearing this. This is one of my dad's old hats. I just inherited
That's a cool hat.
uh, a bunch of my dad's old hats. Thank you. It barely fits, but I love it.
Well,
And
you have a big head.
I do have a big head. I got a fat head.
I got a fat
So
head.
as
When
yeah.
my grandpa passed away, I inherited my grandpa's hat, and it looks almost exactly like that.
Oh yeah.
I've never actually worn it. I might give it a shot one of these days.
Still smells
Um,
like my, which I love my dad. I
still,
miss my
yeah,
dad. He's still on this earth. I just
yeah,
I just visited them, my parents, a couple days ago, and I miss them
cool.
already. I miss
Oh
them
yeah,
already.
yep. So
Yeah.
we're introducing Brandon in this episode. What should people know about him going in, and why should
Yeah.
they be interested in this?
Well, the cool thing, I mean, there's so many cool things about Brandon. Cool, is that the right word? Amazing. Brandon's a buddy of mine. We've, uh, got connected a couple years ago, working on a special project that hopefully we can reveal soon here. That's about as much as I can say about it.
Does that
But
mean that
Brandon
I have
Mull,
to? Does that mean I have to delete a part out of what we recorded then,
just to be on the safe side, I would
just
say
to be on
yes.
the safe side? Okay, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
find that and
Okay.
delete that.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so Brandon is a New York Times best-selling author. He's written the Beyonder series, Fablehaven, Dragon Watch, which is the follow-up series to Fablehaven, and that's an ongoing series, meaning there's a few more books left in the series. The next one gets dropped October 13th, I believe, and that's
Okay.
the latest Dragon Watch book. And
So
he just
when I
fantastic.
asked you about this,
Yeah,
you said something very specific that I'll never forget. You said
yeah.
that this is the next Harry Potter. Now I
They,
haven't seen
yeah,
I've not watched Harry Potter. I was not I haven't given it a chance, but I know how huge those movies and those books are. So
yeah.
if if this really is the next Harry Potter, you might have a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow.
If we are wink wink talking what I'm talking, thinking, we'll hold under our breaths for a little bit longer.
Yep.
Hold under our breaths. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Sure. We'll use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, I think as far as, I mean, it's apples and oranges as far as fantasy is concerned. They're both fantasy, but this
Sure.
is so much different. But as far as on the scope and the scale of things, absolutely. The Hollywood Reporter said it's the next Harry Potter.
Oh,
So
the Hollywood Reporter actually said that. Wow.
Hollywood Reporter said that, and so it's such a fantastic series, Fablehaven, and they're amazing books. They're amazing books, and yeah, and Brandon, of course, having a great insight on uh, the creative process and how he gets into. I'm excited. We get into
Yeah. I
where his
mean,
inspiration comes from and things like that. Yeah,
I'll give away one thing. He said that he
yeah,
gets his creative inspiration while he's in the shower,
that's true.
and that was very so it's somewhere in the middle of the interview. I remember that, but
Yeah,
that's something that I won't forget. Also, is that he gets his creative inspiration in the shower, and it's probably a combination of just the white noise
yeah,
and the ability to. That's why people sing in the shower too. I mean,
That's
I
what
think
I do.
I think it's the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I know. I heard you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so I
Oh, you
think
also heard me say a few other things, but we won't talk about those.
no, we won't talk about that. Never.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Few
let's
choice words. But anyway.
yeah. I don't even remember it. So
Good. Neither do I. I don't even know
all
what we're
right,
talking about here.
I don't either. All right, well, hey,
What do you
we
guys?
have Friday. I hope this works for you. I haven't run this past you yet, but Friday we have Christian Hartsock.
That should work. I saw that invite. So
Okay, so he is a producer with Project Veritas. They have the spies that go in and uncover huge rings of pushing liberalism and media and all kinds of stuff. Project Veritas is the organization that does that. He's a producer for
which
them.
which is huge. Yeah.
So he is going to, yeah, give us kind of an insight into. Uh, Maybe we can talk him into spilling something. I mean, I don't know.
Hey,
We're just gonna have to try it.
we try to feel something all the time, don't we?
Yeah,
Money.
he
Yeah.
just said he had to be careful, and
Okay.
that's all he said. So I've
We'll be
known
careful.
him for years. He's a good guy. He's going
Yeah.
to be an interesting guest because he's seen a lot of stuff that I haven't even seen in politics. So
Well, wow. I'm interested to see and hear.
do a Google search on him, and yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of stuff will pop up. So all right, well, hey, thank you,
Enjoy.
Christian. Enjoy
Thank
this
you, Mon.
episode.
Yes, everyone enjoy our interview with Brandon Mull.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys. See you
Thank
soon.
you. Bye.
Can you hear us?
Brandon.
Hello.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm pretty good. There's
Awesome.
blenders in the background right now, but that won't be for long.
Now, perfect. Now is the perfect time to run a blender or a vacuum or anything that's incredibly noisy. It fits right in with the dogs and the kids and everything we've had in the past.
Hey, well, and we say this in informal podcast. So, yeah, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yes.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
You guys
yeah.
sound. You
So I've been
guys sound great.
Yeah, normally I've got a really nice mic and everything, but I've been on the road. Monty and I just got back from doing a service down in Lake Charles, Louisiana, post Hurricane Laura. So
Oh wow.
I've been on the So I've been on the road now for a week and a half, almost.
It's been an emotional battlefield for us. We drive in and we see all these people that their lives have been torn apart by this hurricane. They don't have the money to. It's like tent city. They've got blue tarps over all their roofs if their structure is even standing, and it's rough. It's really tough to drive through and talk to them and see them, and I mean, a lot of suffering going on.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, Brandon.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for
I'm
coming
Monty.
on.
Sometimes people call me the full Monty because intellectually, I don't pull punches. I tell it like it is. Believe me, I won't take my clothes off.
He told Trump, he did a documentary on the 2016 documentary, and wasn't allowed into one of the what do you call it, the gatherings,
Yes.
Yeah.
because Monty was very honest with Trump about how he felt, and Trump didn't like that. Let's just say that.
Well, one of the events, he had about 300 empty seats on the floor. I mean, it was a winter night, and not as many people showed up as what that had RSVP'd. So I tweeted this picture in Iowa of these empty chairs, and so then every other news agency saw my tweet because they all follow me, and then they retweeted it, and then Trump saw it, and he got angry that I showed that people didn't show up to his event, at least the 300 people, and from there on, I was banned for the next 2 months from any public events held by Trump. And
Wow.
I have on video. It's really interesting that one of the next events was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I attempted to go in like I normally go in, and they actually had somebody, a security guy, waiting for me, knowing that I was going to try to get in, and he knew who I was. He knew everything about me, and I had the camera rolling the whole time as I argued with with him about
Well-
the whole public. This is a public event. How can you hold a public event and then keep out the public? It was I don't know. Not a
Yeah,
big
Anyway,
deal.
yeah.
it's not like you had done in harassment or threatened violence, or you know what I mean. Like they just didn't like a picture you tweeted.
That's correct. Yeah.
Well,
I
but anyway, yeah.
I don't like a lot of the tweets that Trump tweets. It doesn't mean I won't invite him over for chicken dinner or something.
Yeah, no, it's interesting when you trying to exert that much control says something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it means he feared. I took it as though he feared me, and that's a positive for me. Because if telling the truth makes you fear me, then that tells me I'm doing the right thing, right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right,
Well,
enough
awesome.
politics.
Enough politics here. We're done with that.
Yeah.
So Brandon here, we did intro for you, Brandon, and everything, and which is obviously you have done a ton with writing. You know, you're New York Times bestseller. You've got you're incredibly talented. So we want to talk about the creative process and how you go through the creative process, in particular, specific to your books as well. How you do that. So, Monty, do you want to add anything there?
Yeah. Do you start off with pen, pencil, or a computer?
Almost always a computer, because it's so easy to edit. Sometimes when I'm if I go on a flight, because of the takeoff and landing time when you can't be on your computer, that stresses me out that they're going to make me close it down or something. And so sometimes then it's like therapeutic to just have a pen and paper where I know they can't shut me down and I can jot down thoughts or whatever. But almost always, because it's so easy to edit, it's just nicer to put it into a computer. Move stuff around.
What I discovered while flying is that you cannot have a laptop computer out, but you can have an iPad out, because an iPad is classified just like a cell phone. You have to have it. You have to have it in airplane mode. But with the keyboards that you can get for the iPads, it's still classified as a phone and not a laptop. And the keyboard's actually really nice.
That's good to know.
So yeah,
Yeah.
for the future,
Good
future
protest.
reference.
Now, Brandon, where do you find your inspiration for when you have an idea? I mean, do you have a specific place? Is it a specific time? Have you eaten to anything specific, and then you go, I have an idea now, or how do you get through? Yeah.
So what inspires me? What
What inspires you? Yeah.
It's I'll get inspired sometimes when I watch something really good or read something really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's that. You'll have those experiences where either you'll watch an amazing movie or read an amazing book and go, I want to do something that amazing. Sometimes it's as general as that. Sometimes it's very specific. You'll be watching a movie and you think it's going to go one way, and it goes a different way, and you go, I'm going to write a story that goes that first way, because it never existed except in my head, and I'll create my own set of characters and tell a story because sometimes I'll see, this could be so good, and it's like doesn't go there, And so that sometimes inspires me. And then when I'm getting inspired, like from scratch or from nothing, it'll be, for me, it's like the most deliberate, best places are the shower. Mm-hmm. It's a magical sensory deprivation chamber. Where
anywhere in the bathroom, pretty much.
Water.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
like I can go, my mind can go into this very zen state in the shower, and I could probably tax right off the water if things were fair, because
I was going to say you probably have a high bill there for warm water.
It really, really is an effective place for me to daydream. Yeah,
Do you have one of those? Do you have one of those tankless water heaters?
Accident.
Oh, happens on accident.
Oh, I wish. Yeah. So that it could go endless to tankless.
Yeah.
But it's like in the shower, it's effortless. I don't have to I don't go there on purpose to do it almost ever. It's just I'll take a shower and it trans out and good stuff happens. When I do it on purpose, it's taking a walk or a hike.
So do you run? So when you're in the shower, you have all these ideas that come into your mind. Do you immediately like put on a towel and run out to your computer and just start typing to get it out, or is it something you'll remember for a little while?
3 answers. 1, for a brief while, well, not for a brief while, for a couple of years, I had a waterproof tablet in the shower that I could ride on.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, because it was yeah, like I had vocalized this, and my wife got that for me. And then also, yes, sometimes I'll go write it down. That's answer 2. And answer 3 is usually with my stories, they grow kind of like a movie in my mind. And I sort of trust the cool stuff to stick and the boring stuff to fade away. And so sometimes I walk out of that shower and I know that there's some new stuff taking root that I won't have to write down because it's woven into the movie in my mind pretty deeply.
Mm-hmm. That's wait, and you just mentioned that you think cinematically, and that was the first thing when I first read Fablehaven. Oh my gosh, I was.
If you
like,
call
oh
it
my
Harry
gosh.
Potter, take it as a compliment.
Hey, that is a compliment, and Fablehaven is up there with Harry Potter in my opinion. They're fantastic. Of course. Well, we won't talk about that right now. But anyway, but yeah, I was going to say. What I was going to say, Brandon, was that when I read Fablehaven, was that it was written, and that's exactly. When I read it, I went, "This is very cinematic. I could see it build exactly as a movie. It does. The whole series has a full arc too, like the full series and everything. It's very cinematic."
Yeah, for some reason, that's just how it's always worked for me. Like, before I ever wanted to write it down, when it was just how my mind entertained itself in a boring, difficult world, I'd build movies in my head. And I didn't even think of it as movies in my head. I was just living in my head. And, like, that was my coping mechanism. That was how I survived. And there came a point where I was like, oh, I wonder if I could translate these movies into words, you know? And so always the original faculty was kind of building stories in my mind.
Is there a specific, or are there specific movies that that you think of when that give you inspiration to put your characters into cinematic view?
Yeah, I mean, like I've always loved. There's always been, like, for me, fantasy has been like it has been the category with the special sauce kind of. You know, we've all got our things that really speak to us, and for some reason, fantasy really speaks to me and really engages me. And any movie where it kind of breaks new ground and helps me see stuff I hadn't seen, you know, shows me something I hadn't thought of before.
So give me an example. For me, it was Interstellar and dimensions, thinking of things as dimensions. But what's one for you that just broke ground?
Well, I mean, for me, it's funny because it can be different things. Like, sometimes it's just something like some of Neil Gaiman stuff, you know, even like Coraline, where he just creates a fantasy scenario I hadn't seen before. You know, like the other mother with the button eyes. Like, I'm like, oh, that's new. I haven't seen that one, you know? Or how well they imagine things that I had been imagining my whole life, but someone imagines it better. Like Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? When I saw Lord of the Rings, I was like, this story has lived in my head for so long, but some of this, which so seldom happened in the movie theater, some of this is better than I pictured it. And that was very exciting to see things better than I pictured it. But I mean, movies like The Matrix, or even things like that are really surreal, like Being John Malkovich or something. Like where it's like, oh, you could take fantasy in this direction, or you could take, you know, like make life a little surreal in this direction, and that's a direction I didn't picture before, you know.
Well, Peter Jackson is a genius in his own right. I mean, everything that guy touches seems to turn to gold. You know, the thing he did with the World War I, or They Shall Not Be Forgotten? I forget.
1917.
World War I. Yeah.
That
was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
He told the story with just old images and had them colorized, and the story was compelling. I mean, I don't know how he did that. I don't think I could do it, but you know, I think that Brandon, you're probably one of those people that can turn it into a compelling story on the screen, and I know Christian is.
Yeah, I mean, one of my goals as a writer is to show people things they haven't seen before. I think that's one of the things that fantasy has a ton of potential to do, is to show you some really new things. And if I'm not doing that, I want to show people things that they've heard of or seen, you know, like maybe centaurs or fairies, but show them in a new way with some new light on it, or from a new perspective.
Give me an example of how you would show a fairy from a new perspective.
Yeah. you take a fairy that has existed for thousands of years, right? Like in different mythologies and traditions. And you, as the author, try to bring something new. For example, in Fablehaven, if you lock a fairy in a cage and keep it indoors overnight, it will fall and become an imp. And it becomes this kind of evil little creature. Now, that's nothing from any existing mythology. That's something I brought to fairies that was something new, and that to me was cool and made them a little more dimensional.
Has anybody else picked up on that and carried it on?
I don't know, but that would be fun and funny if they do someday. Like I would like to see like something that I brought into Fablehaven become, you know, subconsciously or accidentally or even deliberately woven into the mythology, right? Like, because these mythologies exist because someone made them up, and so kind of part of my premise is I can make up some stuff too and add to it, you know, and screw around with it.
Yeah.
That is really interesting.
Now, Brandon, with Fablehaven and with other things, you know, your personal philosophies and thoughts, you know, weaving how much. I guess the question I'm trying to ask is how much does your personal life and philosophy and your experiences shape the stories and everything that you're. I mean, obviously, well, I mean, you talk about any, yeah, that makes sense.
It makes tons of sense. For me, it's inextricable, right? Like,
yeah,
like I don't know how to write honestly without putting elements of me into the story, right? Like elements of me, and that includes what I think about reality and life, and what I think about human nature, and you know, I'm trying to use fantasy to say true things, and you know, it's a big part of my whole premise on why we write, right? And I think a lot of people's premise on why we write is to create a fictional scenario in which we can say and explore true things, whether that's about the human heart or whether that's about how we deal with conflict or trouble, or but you know, about relationships. And we're simulating some of those things as best we can, creating these simulations or scenarios, and hopefully in interesting ways that reveal something. I think when a book is done well enough, a lot of people go, hey, this reveals something in a unique way about what it is to be human, and that thing becomes a classic if enough people read it and nod. You know what I mean? And you end up reading it in school, or you know, because there becomes a consensus that, wow, something's being said here that speaks to lots of people, that there's something universal in this made up lie, right? Like in this fictitious thing. And so I'm always reaching for some of that. And for me here, like let's rewind, is look at teenage Brandon. Teenage Brandon would have wanted to write any story that had a bunch of action in it, right? I would want to see guys getting punched in the face and things blowing up, and those are like my favorite parts of the movie, my favorite parts of the book. Action.
Let me guess, you were a fan of the A-Team.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, yeah, me too.
There was an age, there was a time when you said, "What's the best show on earth?" I'd be like, "The
A-Team."
Easy.
Yep.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah, with the Russian SKSs and AK-47s.
Yeah, for sure. And so if you looked at some of my early short stories, you'd see lots of A-Team moments in them, right? You'd see lots of like I was building it around an explosion, or around a fight, or around some getting punched in the face. And then as I kind of matured as a writer a little bit, it wasn't that I didn't like action anymore. It's just the questions around the action became interesting too. Like, why did he punch him in the face? And what was the consequence of that? And I started to realize that was in some ways more important than the actual punch, was all the motivations and consequences. And that helped me mature a little bit as a writer. And then there was also this was a key realization for me, was I have a lot of horsepower in my imagination. I could produce all sorts of stuff. Like no one knows. No one has any idea, because I've mostly done kind of this middle grade fantasy stuff. But there's a really wide spectrum of where I could go, and I could easily be like a Stephen King and go really dark with some of my stuff. Like I can see that in my mind really clearly sometimes, right? And like I had to make a decision. I experimented with writing some stuff that was kind of dark, and I was like, okay, is this what I want to put out into the world? I had to be like, is this what I want my name on? Is this what I want to put out there? And to some degree, I reached a point fairly early as I matured in my career where I was like, I'm not going to put anything out there unless it has some light in it. Unless I feel like the net result is that this story will put more light into the world.
Uplift
Even
people.
if it has dark stuff, right? But it can have action, it can have dark stuff. But for me, the net result had to be this has something enlightening about it or in it, and for me that was important because it informed the kind of stuff I would write.
Yeah.
Now, when you say
You don't always think about. Oh yeah, talk to me.
when you say light, you mean a positive outtake from it. You know, somebody that's dealing with something in their life, it might strike them and change their life. Something like that.
Like I want it to be something where if somebody reads it, they'll finish that book and have a little more hope, or a little more like, oh yeah, this taught me something of value. This taught me something good. Like, because it's really easy to once you learn some basics, it's really easy to create something, and you can almost be like the guys that create the atom bomb. You know, like where you go, okay, we created this. Wait, should we have created this? You know,
Yeah, maybe not.
Like intellectually, like with some stories, like I've seen movies like this, I've read books like this where you go, this is really well done, and it's leaving me worse than it found me. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, there's a place for that. That's okay to do. But like, I was like, but what do I want to do? What do I want my name on? And I was like, there's plenty of people like leaving you worse than they found you with certain kinds of stories. I want to try to. I'm going to try. I don't know if I'll succeed, but I'm going to try to leave people, you know, better than I found them when they get to the end of that story. Hopefully.
Totally.
It could still be a tragedy. It could still have rough stuff in it. But by my judgment, I'm hoping there's a net increase in hope or optimism or light, or like, oh yeah, look, you could get painted into a really dark corner and still make it out, or that kind of stuff, you know.
Totally.
Very 18-like.
Very 18-like, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You know, we talked about
I pity the fool.
On this podcast. You know, I'm LDS, and you know, and one of the things about what I loved about Brigham Young that he said, and I would say the same thing about books as well. He said the stage can be an incredible companion to the pulpit because of the things that you can learn from it. You know, you can watch a play and not go through the experiences of that character and the lead character or whatever, and come out learning something from it. And the same thing with a book. You know, you can go through the experience of seeing the, like you were saying, Brandon, the tragedy and things like that. And what do you learn from that without having to go through that? Does that make sense?
Makes tons of sense. Yeah, tons of sense.
Yeah, and I love that.
I'm not LDS yet, but
Hey,
I'm reading it, Christian. I am reading it.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
it's a
marked
good
some
book.
passages in
Yeah,
there.
I'm glad you're reading it. That's a good book.
Yeah.
Yep.
I marked my
Yeah,
favorite
we
passages there.
found a lot of stuff already that we agree with in there. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we just lost
Brandon.
Brandon.
Yeah, just a second. I got a phone call. I'm doing myself
gotcha.
a phone.
Oh, that's not allowed. We should have put out a no phone call alert to the whole country to not call Brandon during our podcast.
We'll let him take that. I'm sure it's a very important call.
Yep, that's fine. I can pause this a second.
Well, you know what? We need to do the intro.
And we need to do the sponsorship. You know, this episode is
Coca-Cola.
brought to you by. It's not
Coca-Cola.
actually brought to you by Coca-Cola, but it should be. So Coca-Cola,
It's brought to you.
if you are watching or listening, you need to sponsor this podcast, or next week it's going to be Pepsi. I'm telling you right now.
Hey, I actually don't tell this. I actually prefer Pepsi.
I do
Are we still
sometimes.
friends?
You
Okay,
know,
okay.
yeah. I mean, I go
Okay.
back and forth. For example, I got to admit, for example, sometimes I like cherry Pepsi, and sometimes I like cherry Coke. It just
Ooh,
depends on the
okay.
day.
Yeah, cherry
I'm so sorry.
Pepsi. No, you're
That's all right.
fine,
No
Brandon.
problem.
We figured it was an important call, so.
We were just talking about soda.
Good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of the
I
things
said
that
I-
you have to talk about.
What was
Let me
the
ask you this.
consensus on soda?
Well, let me ask you this first before we say the consensus, Brandon. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke or Pepsi? A little bit. I lean toward Coke.
Okay. See, I'm a
And-
Pepsi guy.
And beyond that would be Dr. Pepper.
Ooh, I love
yep,
Dr.
that's
Pepper.
my wife's favorite.
Yeah.
That was my grandma's favorite.
You know what my new favorite is? I didn't get it today, but it's cherry Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, that's good.
It's great
Ooh, yeah.
stuff. But I typically don't drink pop. I just happen to have this Coke today because we're trying to get sponsors, and I'm trying to guilt Coca-Cola into sponsoring our podcast. Or next week we're going to feature Pepsi.
That's right.
Good thought. A little bit of blackmail.
That's right.
Yeah, a little bit of
Or
blackmail.
Mountain Dew, which is the best soda of them all. You know,
That stuff's
gotta have Mountain Dew in it.
dangerous, man. You melt your insides with that stuff.
You know, I'll take that chance.
I don't do a lot of soda either. But my favorite is cream soda, actually. Of the whole spectrum, like I like a cream soda. But like I don't do tons either. I do water. I do way too much milk probably. Like Fablehaven has a drink the milk thing, and that's because like milk's like a thing for me. I ever since like forever. Milk. Try to find the best brands.
Have you ever had Anderson Erickson cream? The thing that you just said. Cream soda. Have you ever had Anderson Erickson cream soda?
No, I'm gonna have to hunt that down. You're saying that's.
I will. Well, it's for you. Probably don't have it out there, but I'm gonna send me your address, and I will send you a bottle of it. It's
really?
I'm not a big drinker of it, but supposedly it's the best cream soda out there.
Cool. I would be so curious to try it. Yeah.
I'll send you a bottle.
That's worth sending an address for. Yeah, I'll do that.
I'll say this. I do.
I'm in Iowa. I'm in Bipella, Iowa.
Cool.
Just kind of out in the middle of nowhere, town of 800 people, Sully.
Oh wow, that's cool.
I can literally throw a softball to a cornfield from my front yard.
That's kind of awesome.
It's sometimes it's kind of awesome, except when you need to get groceries or go to the dentist or go to the doctor or things like that. But
does it ever get caught by like Shoeless Joe?
It hasn't yet, but it has been caught by various mountain lions and bobcats.
Whoa!
So we have those roaming around out here.
Nice.
Really, mountain lions?
And we've had a few black bears. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. We every couple of years somebody catches a black bear in our neighborhood, and we just leave it alone, and we know how to deal with them here. So nobody's ever been hurt.
I'll tell you that if I was walking through a cornfield and came face to face with a mountain lion, I would say this is not my day.
Here's what people don't understand is it happens all the time, and a mountain lion has to work incredibly hard to kill you. If you fight back, if you know how to punch, kick, hit, elbow, whatever, you can take a mountain lion to the point where it will not kill you. Now you're gonna be scratched up real bad. You're gonna be bleeding real bad, but you stand a pretty good chance of living through it.
But the more scratched up you get, the more fertilized the field is, and so
there you go.
and the more blood the animal tastes, the more aggressive it gets too. But they have been fought, and people have won those fights.
Wow! I hope there are other people.
I carry a gun. I carry a gun when I'm walking out in the fields and stuff like that. So, not that I would really want to shoot the animal, but at least I'd put one in the air over top of it and scare it away.
That seems like a great idea. I have walked in cornfields before because I wanted to see what it was like, and it's kind of surreal. It's an interesting experience.
You mentioned your shower scene and how that kind of gave you that. But go stand out, come out here to Iowa in the middle of the night where you can actually see the stars. If you look up in the cornfield, you can see the stars, and lay down in one of the rows. So you're looking up, you're seeing moonlight and starlight through the corn, and just lay there. You'll hear crickets, you'll hear little mosquitoes or gnats or whatever, but they won't be bad down at the ground. And that is a serene feeling. There's nothing else quite like it. It also, if you have mean friends, can be really freaky if they know you're out there. But
I can only imagine.
Just don't tell anybody you're going out there. Take a cell phone with you in case you get lost, because you can get lost in cornfields pretty easily. Follow the rows. If you hear something funny, just stay in your row. That's the key.
That's when E.T. comes around the corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
E.T. Yeah.
The M. Night Shyamalan movie where the aliens were in the corn.
Signs.
Signs. That was a great movie too.
Until the very end, until the cheesy ending.
The cheesy, you mean the water and.
Well, yeah. Well, when you saw the aliens, see, I like the Jaws effect where you don't really see Much.
Kind of like The Village, where you saw just the red blankets. That was also an M. Night Shyamalan movie. You never really saw the monsters.
Yeah.
It's hard to make it as cool once you actually see it, right? Like the
It
other
is.
finds tend to be scarier.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep. And that was unintended in Jaws. They couldn't show it because it was mechanically it looked ridiculous. So it ended up working in their favor. Yeah.
Can you imagine
So-
if they remade Jaws with the special effects they have now? You could really make an amazing movie with the special effects now.
You could do the opposite. You could show so much, which maybe wouldn't be as cool though in some
maybe
ways.
wouldn't-
Like
maybe.
it would be an interesting study to side by side it. Which one works better? You know?
Well, I think you keep the original formula that you see very little of it until that one part, and then make that one part much more realistic.
Oh yeah.
I think that might be the way to do it.
He might do Lucas would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spielberg. We know he stalks us, but we don't know if he watches our podcast.
Yeah.
Well, E.T.
He probably
they
just
re-released.
gets summaries.
He gets so
Wait, say
many
it
times.
again,
up.
Brandon. He gets what?
He has staff that'll give him summaries of your podcast.
Oh, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
I'm sure all the great movie makers out there have somebody doing that for them.
Yeah. Well, when they redid the 20th anniversary of E.T., did you guys ever watch that?
No.
The 20th anniversary?
20th or 25th anniversary, and it was a re-release, and what they did was they added CGI effects to E.T.'s face. So he was supposedly he emoted a lot more, I think that's an interesting study too of the fact that, I was born and raised with the original, and that version to me sucked. It was too much.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the charm was that E.T. did not emote as much, and that gave him, I think, an otherworldly.
Made him a little mysterious, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was kind of like the show that Netflix just put out with the gangster movie with trying to pull it up right now, but it's very slow. The same old gangster guy. The Irishman. It was it was the Irishman. So they used computer graphics to make all of those guys look much younger than they really are, and I was not, the movie, the plot was okay, but I was just not impressed by that fact that they tried to make those guys look a lot younger. I didn't do them justice.
They can't do it perfectly yet, right? There's that little bit of wrongness that I think some people call the uncanny valley, where it almost looks right, but it looks too wrong. And so it's almost worse than if it looked really wrong, because it's almost there, but not quite right. And there's something inside that's kind of like, this is worse than anything. This is like a creepy mannequin puppet attacking me or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're in this uncanny valley where you're almost real, but you're off in a way that's disturbing me down at the DNA level.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell a lot of movies make big mistakes with simple things like walking, the motion, a creature or a person, their gait.
Like it's a gravity.
It's. I'm sure it's a study in physics and everything, but
Totally.
I just think that it could be better. Everything can be better. I mean, I'm a perfectionist, so if I ever made a movie, you might as well plan on doubling the budget right away, because I'm going to want it to be perfect.
Right.
Monty's involved. We better double the budget.
Well, and sometimes it's as simple as the actor isn't natural, right? Like there's a way to say a line where you don't think about the delivery of the line. You're in the moment. But if the line's delivered in a way that's even slightly self-conscious or feels affected or faked, there's something inside that goes like, he's acting, he's pretending.
Yeah.
And you're pulled right out of it. But sometimes you're in the scene and you don't think about them at all, that they're pretending, and that's the sweet spot.
So I do documentary films, and I agree with you on that. And there's a trick to that as a director. What you do is you have them practice with the camera off Get it? The camera's off. You're just practicing your line right now, and then on 3 or 4, then we're going to record it. Well, the one right before we record it is always the best take because they don't think they're being recorded, and they're just acting naturally.
That's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's why I always ask if I'm doing a commercial and I'm the one in it. They'll say, "Do you want to rehearse?" I said, "No, let's just film it," because sometimes the rehearsing is the best take. So
Exactly.
Yeah, you're trying to catch some spontaneity or catch something that
totally.
before it becomes very canned. And
It's more natural. That's the thing. It's more natural, and people can see that today. People are judgmental on TV and movies. They can see it. They're smart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're all connoisseurs of it. You get so much of it.
They don't know how to multiply or divide anything, or give change at a gas station, but they do recognize bad acting.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, let's talk. Let's swing back here for a few minutes here. I'm sure your time is super valuable. I know that. But let's talk about Fablehaven is Fablehaven. I'm just asking you this. I know your biggest, your most successful series that you have.
I mean, Fablehaven's had the longest reach for the longest time.
Yeah.
It's also had the advantage that it was the first. I mean, that was my first series, and so it's had the most time to grow too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had my Beyonder series where both the first 2 books of those were #1 New York Times bestsellers, and
my son read those, and he said he's a big fan, and to say hi from Miles.
Oh, tell Miles hello. Yeah,
I will.
So I'm proud of those Beyonders books. 5 Kingdoms had a really good run. 5 Kingdoms is what was my world building masterpiece so far. That's a kid that gets kidnapped into another world, and each of the kingdoms in this world has different magic that works there. You basically get 5 different fantasy worlds in one, and there's even an excuse to why they're all different. And like I did a ton of what I consider some of my best world building. Made it something that where the world will be really different from anything you've seen before. Because in one kingdom you might get this magic sword, and in the next kingdom it's just worthless because magic has a whole different basis in the next kingdom. There's one of the kingdoms has high technology. One of the kingdoms has heavy involvement with an afterlife. That was both fun to create the world and fun to tell a cool story inside that world. And those books have done really well. My Candy Shop War books have their own little sub-following. That there's a type of reader who doesn't like any of my other stuff, but they love Candy Shop War. And I think it's because Candy Shop War was like a normal neighborhood and normal kids with really weird magical stuff going on. It's not fantasy out in the woods with monsters. It's fantasy going to school and going around your neighborhood and having really odd things happen. And I've got a secret project that is different than everything else I've done. So
okay, so we are known as the Oprah of podcasts. You know how Oprah Winfrey, people come on there and they spill their guts. She gets stuff out of them that nobody else gets.
And we had Tom Arnold spill some guts.
He could have made national news. So our last guest said that we are the Oprah of podcasts. So if there's something that you can hint at or whatever, we won't be offended. Just think of us as Oprah, as big white Oprahs.
I'll hint at this, and I probably really can't be completely open about it yet because it's not even sold yet.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm writing a series, part of the reason I write books in the first place is I've got this divergent thinking mind, right? And sometimes that divergent thinking mind loves any task but the task at hand. Even if it's a task I like, it'll start looking for other things to do, right?
Yeah.
And that happened when I was 2 books into Fablehaven. I wrote Candy Shop War and then continued Fablehaven, that kind of thing, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I when I was 3 books into Dragon Watch, which is my sequel series to Fablehaven, 3 books into that, I had this idea that seemed cool to me, so I wrote another novel in between 3 and 4 that nobody knows about, and it's the most different of all my other books that I've written so far. It was my 20th novel. I wanted to do something really different. The 20th novel released will be Dragon Watch Book 4, and that's about to come out. But the 20th novel written is this novel I wrote between 3 and 4, and I'll be able to share more about it, I think, once we sell it.
Awesome.
In my job, in my life, my books are sold before I write them. ever since
Yeah.
Fablehaven Book 1. Fablehaven Book 1 I wrote before I'd sold it. But after that, every single novel I've written since the book was sold, I got paid in advance. I wrote the book knowing I was getting paid for it. So this book I wrote between Dragon Watch 3 and 4 that I wrote just the last little while. That's the first book I've written in a long time where it was not sold when I wrote it. And so my agent's looking at it. He's trying to figure out, how do we sell this thing? It's kind of different from everything else I've done. So knock on wood, hopefully I'll have cool stuff to announce beyond this soon.
Can I ask you a huge favor?
Yeah.
When you are able to announce it and come out with it, would you do it on our show?
Sure, if you want me to. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course we do. Yeah, of course we do. That would be awesome.
I'll ask my agent, and if he so with permission, when I can do it with permission, I'll try to let you know.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right.
That's great.
So let me, Brad, that's awesome. Let me ask you this: with the Dragon Watch series, how far down the line do you see a lot more books in the Dragon Watch series, or what are you thinking?
It is 5 books. I have started with 5, and so 5 will be a big, chunky, massive book. It's really the true finale to the Fablehaven series and the Dragon Watch series. It takes, if I was describing the finale of the Fablehaven series, I'd say the finale of the Fablehaven series in book 5 wraps up the story I started in book 1 plot-wise. Mm-hmm. I would say that the Dragon Watch finale will feel like it wraps up the story character-wise for Kendra and Seth and a lot of the main characters, where they still had open threads and weren't really resolved on. I think you'll get to the end of Dragon Watch and kind of see the trajectory of their lives, where you could imagine what it would be after the series ends. Kind of
cool. Gotcha.
Have you ever considered, or maybe you have already considered, turning these books into video games?
It's always been an open thing, a possible thing. I've had people that were interested in it. Often with a brand like a book, it's usually when they make the movie that's when someone really wants to fund a video game. But there's been interest in it. I could totally picture a video game where people were managing wildlife parks for magical creatures. If you had to manage the preserve and keep the centaurs from bugging the satyrs.
Because look how big Farmville is, and Farmville is boring compared to what you could create, I would think.
Yeah, there's some real potential if the right developer wanted to do it. I would help them. I've been approached occasionally by developers, but never with like a deep, real intent. You know what I mean?
What would make the developer, in your mind, the right developer for something like that?
Just that they do good stuff, and that they have the resources to develop it at the right level, and that they're willing to put those resources into action.
Sure, it costs a significant amount of money to do it right.
Yeah, or at least to do it decent, right? To do a decent job. So somebody who's done some decent work and who sees the value of investing enough to make it good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I love it.
It's a tough part of writing a book, is that you're now the owner of this intellectual property, and then people want to build on it, and just trying to figure out the right situation to let people build on it is always a challenge. Trying to find like-minded people that are willing to put in the work and have the resources, and it's tricky. But it's partly why I'm glad I have some agents to help me out with all that stuff, because my goal is to write the books. I didn't realize I'd be like managing a property when I was done with it. But that's also
totally
what helps me get paid. So it's good.
Sounds like you've got some good friends surrounding you, helping in any way they can, and keeping you grounded from not becoming a huge star and being a real person, and that's good.
Part of that is having a family. That helps, like having kids. And stuff. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, I mean, no matter what you do, you could become president, you could become whatever. Your kids will still look at you as dad, and you're the same guy to them every day, no matter what. And that's I think it's a good way to keep us grounded.
I think it's true for my close friends, for my siblings, for my parents, for my kids, and for my close friends. Like there's nothing to. There's not a lot in my day to day that makes me feel like, oh yeah, that's right. You've got lots and lots of readers in Poland or whatever. That's not something I see, right? And so it's like my day to day is pretty normal and actually kind of lonely. You know what I mean? Like, because the writer job, you just kind of go in a room, and write it.
Yeah.
That's not unusual. That was one thing that Christian and I hit on talking about when we were down in Louisiana. We were like, everybody thinks that as actors, as producers, as directors and stuff, that we're just busy all the time. Well, we're busy. We go through stretches where we have no time to even hardly use a restroom. But then there's times where we like a day, like today's Friday, tomorrow. I've got nothing to do for tomorrow. Nothing on my schedule. Nothing to do. I don't have it a lot, but yeah, that's it. But it's also a blessing in a way, too, because it gives my mind a chance to take a break from the monotony of what I have to do, and so it's I think some people kind of need that schedule.
Yeah, it's good. I try to, I'm a generally social person to the degree that I like to be around people that I enjoy. Like it usually gives me a situation like a party wears me out, but a situation like hanging out with some close friends, that gives me so much energy. That builds me. And so, so I try to build that into my life, even though it doesn't naturally, I kind of have to make an effort. It's sort of like exercise, my job as a writer, if I don't make an effort to exercise, I would exercise never. You know what I mean? It doesn't naturally happen, and so I have to try to build it in. And same with having any sort of social life. If I don't make sort of an effort, I could withdraw into this total hermit mode where I live in my head and write my books and, minimally grunt at my family. And I could really withdraw pretty far,
Yeah, I totally understand that. I have an Apple Watch that harasses me to exercise. I have it set up so it, once an hour it says get up, and so once an hour I get up and I actually just walk a quarter of a mile on the treadmill every hour when I'm in my studio.
That's smart.
So it's just it's good for me just to stretch my legs and get my heart rate up every hour, and it seems to be working pretty well.
Not to melt away and fully atrophy or whatever,
Exactly. Because sitting in an office chair doing, I'm surrounded by screens, and yeah, I could stay busy enough where I would just sit here all day long and hardly do anything physical. So that treadmill, man, that's been the best thing for me.
Good.
We got to get Christian one now.
Yeah,
although he's got all that place to walk in Montana now. Holy cow! I don't know if I'd need a treadmill if I had that to walk in.
That's the plan. That's the plan, is to get out and start walking a lot more. So yeah,
I'm gonna come up there and put you to the test.
Yeah. There you go. Do it. Well, Brandon, is there anything that you want to say as far as the creative process, or and in specific? Also about your books or your next book that's coming out in the Dragon Watch series.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could say if you haven't tried my stuff, Fablehaven is about a secret wildlife park for magical creatures. A brother and sister have a ton of adventures there, and it kind of starts simple and then gets a lot more grand and complex than you would probably anticipate. And then that story evolves into Dragon Watch, which is significantly more ambitious, and you'll see that especially as books 4 and 5 come out. Book 4 comes out October 13th, and I'm excited to share that with people and give them something extra to do while life is weird with COVID and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just looking at Amazon. I was looking for your books. Is it easier? Is it better for you if I buy them on Amazon just directly through them, or is it better if I buy them through you and your website?
Oh yeah, no, just by it's not even available through me. Like it's you got to go through a retailer. So yeah, Amazon or whatever.
Yeah, because my son loved the Beyonders, so I'm just going to buy the whole Fairhaven series and Fablehaven series. And
you won't regret it.
Do that
I'll
right
vouch
now.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, if you dug Beyonders, do Fablehaven or do Five Kingdoms. Both of those should be pretty sure things. Those are kind of my big 3 series. So.
I am hitting proceed to check out right now. So
All right.
ding, 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 ding. You made a sale.
Live right now. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Brandon, we know I'm sure you're on a pretty tight writing schedule right now.
Yeah, always.
Oh yeah. I know every time we talk, you're writing. You're writing
Working
man.
on
So
something. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we'll let
What do
you
you
get
what
back
what,
to that.
one more
Go ahead,
question.
Monty.
Actually,
Sure.
two more questions. What do you do when you're not writing, not hanging out with friends? What if you could pick anything you wanted to do?
There you go.
Not
Oh,
writing,
and I've
not
got
hanging
one
out with
question.
friends.
All right.
Okay.
So I like kind of exploring the world. You know, I like going places. That's a big part of it. And you know that's getting outside and hiking, or that's going to a city I've never been to before. And it can be pretty simple, just kind of poking around, looking around. There's not a specific activity, but beyond kind of exploring, right? Recently, I with my wife, we went up to the Hiawatha Trail in like northern Idaho and Montana, which is this bike trail that follows an old railroad rights. So you're going through like train tunnels and over trestle bridges on your bike. That was an exploration that was really fun to me, but I'm not like Mr. Bike Guy either. Like I just kind of like to explore stuff, or yeah, man, it's hang out with my kids and family. Like you kind of said it with hanging out with friends, but if I'm not hanging out with friends, it's go explore the world a little bit.
Well, let me ask you this. Christian and I, what our kind of future goals are is to, since we got a taste of the Hurricane Laura thing, and we kind of want to bring people into experience and help when other people are suffering. And I just wondered if sometime in the future, when the next hurricane hits or something like that, if you would like to come with us and volunteer at the Salvation Army for a couple of days or something like that.
Hit me up
if your schedule permits.
There's two pieces to it. I mean, there's the work schedule, and then there's the 11 kids situation. But like,
yeah,
if the right window appears, that would be very exciting to me. I would really like it. So definitely hit me up, and if I can make it work, that would be really fun.
Awesome.
Be fun and meaningful. It would be great.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how we found it.
That's great.
Yeah. Fun and meaningful.
Yeah.
Now I had one. Did you have another question, Monty? Or I've
Nope,
got one last question for you, Brandon. If you had 15 minutes to yourself, do you grab a book, your phone, or a magazine, and what would it be, and what would you read? What would you do?
Oh man, that depends. But often it's grab a book. You know, if there's anything good to read, I'll grab a book. If it's 15 minutes, that yeah.
And what would that book be?
I just the one I just reread. I just reread Watership Down, and that was such a delight. Like I'd forgotten how darn good. I remembered I liked it, but I don't think when I first read it, I was old enough to get how darn good it was. And so I just read that and thought it was spectacular. And yeah, so I'm excited to read something else. But.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, next time
Brandon,
we talk, I will have read Fablehaven 1. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you're trying it. I hope it's a good ride. I hope it's fun.
Yep.
Brandon, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for taking time.
Good to talk to you guys. Thanks for the company and questions, and yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and we'll be talking soon here about some cool stuff. So yeah,
great.
Thanks again, Brandon. All right.
Well, this has been FatHead with Christian, Monty, and Brandon. Thanks for listening.